Hey, good morning, Mother Webb.
Goodness, you frightened me. Now, George, you can come in a minute out of the way, but you know I can't actually win.
Why not?
You know as well as I do, George. The groom can't see his bride on his wedding day, not unless he sees her.
That's just a superstition. Hey, good morning, Mr. Webb.
Good morning, George.
Mr. Webb, you don't believe in that superstition, do you?
There's a lot of common sense in some superstitions, George.
Millions have followed, George, and you do not want to be the first to find a face of color.
How's Emily?
She hasn't waked up yet.
Emily's asleep?
Well, no wonder. We were up till all hours sewing and packing. Now I'll tell you what I do. You sit down here in a minute with Mr. Webb and drink this cup of coffee. And I'll go upstairs and see if she does a surprise. There's some bacon too, but don't be wrong about it.
Well, George, how are you?
I'm fine. Mr. Webb, what's sense you being in a superstition like that?
Well, you see, on our wedding morning, the girl's head ought to be full of clothes and one thing and another. Don't you think that's probably it?
Yes. I never thought of that.
Girl's head ought to be full of clothes and one thing and another.
I wish a fella could get married without that marching up and down.
Every man that's ever lived has felt that way about it, George. But it hasn't been any use. The women folk who built up weddings, my boy. For a while now, the women have it all their own. Man, it looks pretty small at a wedding, George. All those good women standing shoulder to shoulder, making sure the knot's tied in a mighty public way.
But you believe in it, don't you, Mr. Webb?
Oh yes, oh yes. Now don't you misunderstand me, my boy. Marriage is a wonderful thing. Wonderful thing. And don't you forget that, George.
No, sir. Mr. Webb, how old were you when you got married?
Well, you see, I'd been to college, and I'd taken a little time to get settled. But Mrs. Webb, she wasn't much older than what Emily was. Oh, age hasn't much to do with it, George. Not compared with, other things.
What were you going to say, Mr. Webb?
Oh, I don't know. Was I going to say something? George, I was thinking the other night of some advice my father gave me when I got married. Charles, he said, Charles, start out early showing who's boss. He said, best thing to do is to give an order, even if it doesn't make sense, just so she'll learn to obey. He said, and he said, if anything about your wife irritates you, for conversation or anything, just get up and leave the house. That'll make it clearer, he said. And oh yes, he said, never let your wife know how much money you have. Never.
Well, Mr. Webb, I don't think I do.
So I took the opposite of my father's advice, and I've been happy ever since. Let that be a lesson to you, George. Never ask advice on personal matters. George, are you going to raise chickens on your farm?
What?
Are you going to raise chickens on your farm?
I think Uncle Luke's never been too much interested.
Luke came into my office the other day, George, on the philo system of raising chickens. I want you to read it, thinking of beginning in a small way in the backyard. I'm going to put an incubator to sell.
Charles, are you talking about that old incubator again? I thought you two would be talking about things more worthwhile.
Well, Myrtle, if you want to give the boys some good advice, I'll go upstairs and leave you alone with it.
George, Emily's got to come downstairs and hear breakfast. She sends you her love, but she does not want to lay fire. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Well, Myrtle, I guess you don't know about that old